last person to live in Kennecott left in the early 1950s. Or so we thought. As I stood in the shadow of the 14-story mill, I realized with growing dread that something had been living here all along. Something that didn't want to be discovered. I came to Kennecott looking for a story. Instead, I found a nightmare. And now, as I share my terrifying experience with you, I have to warn you, some truths are better left buried in the Alaskan wilderness. The old truck's headlights flicker as I turn onto the final stretch of road to Kennecott. The darkness seems to press in from all sides, swallowing up the weak beams of light. I grip the steering wheel tighter, my knuckles turning white. The town looms ahead, a collection of abandoned buildings barely visible in the gloom. As I pull into what used to be the main street, the engine sputters and dies. Great. Just what I need. I try to restart it, but nothing happens. Looks like I'm stuck here for the night. I grab my flashlight and step out of the truck, the cold Alaskan air hitting me like a slap to the face. The silence is oppressive. No crickets, no rustling leaves, just the sound of my own breathing and the crunch of gravel under my feet. The beam of my flashlight bounces off the weathered wood of empty houses and storefronts. Each building seems to watch me, their dark windows like hollow eyes. I make my way towards the center of town, where the massive 14-story mill towers over everything else. It's an imposing sight, a testament to the copper mining operation that once thrived here. As I walk, I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. Every few steps I whirl around, sure I've seen movement in the corner of my eye, but there's never anything there. A gust of wind whistles through the empty streets, carrying with it a faint metallic smell. Copper, maybe? I shiver, pulling my jacket tighter around me. The temperature's dropping fast, and I can see my breath forming little clouds in the beam of the flashlight. I reach the base of the mill and shine my light upwards. The structure creaks and groans, as if protesting its abandonment. For a moment I swear I see a figure in one of the upper windows. My heart pounds in my chest as I stare, willing my eyes to make sense of what I'm seeing. But it's gone as quickly as it appeared. Why did I stop here at midnight? The question nags at me as I continue to explore. I remember reading about Kennecott's rich history, how it produced over $200 million worth of copper in its heyday. But there was something else, something that drew me here specifically tonight. I rack my brain, trying to remember. A sudden noise behind me makes me jump. I spin around, my flashlight beam dancing wildly across the abandoned buildings. Nothing. Just the wind, I tell myself. But deep down I know that's not true. There's something else here, something that doesn't want to be seen. I'm about to head back to my truck when I hear it. A deafening crash echoes through the night, coming from the direction of the mill. My blood runs cold as I slowly turn to face the towering structure. What I see next will haunt me for the rest of my life. They say curiosity killed the cat. In Kennecott, it might just kill me, but that crash, I can't just ignore it. I take a deep breath and step into the mill. The air is thick with dust and the metallic tang of copper. My flashlight catches something glinting on the floor, an old miner's helmet. As I pick it up, the floorboards creak beneath me. Before I can react, I'm falling, tumbling into darkness. I hit the ground hard, the impact knocking the wind out of me. For a moment, I lie there, dazed and gasping for air. As my senses slowly return, I realize I'm not on solid ground. It's moving. I scramble to my feet, my heart pounding in my chest. The beam of my flashlight reveals a network of tunnels stretching into darkness. I've fallen into an old mine shaft. The realization hits me like a punch to the gut. I'm trapped in the very bowels of Kennecott's copper empire. The same tunnels where 300 miners once toiled, rarely seeing the light of day. I can almost feel their presence, the weight of their isolation pressing down on me. I start walking, my footsteps echoing off the rocky walls. The tunnel seems to go on forever, branching off in different directions. I try to keep track of where I've been, but it's useless. Every turn looks the same in the narrow beam of my flashlight. As I push deeper into the mine, the air grows thick and heavy. The smell of copper is overwhelming, metallic and sharp. It's like the very walls are sweating the ore that made this place famous. I remember reading that Kennecott's copper was some of the purest in the world. Now, surrounded by it, I feel anything but rich. A sudden sound makes me freeze. It's faint, barely audible over my own ragged breathing. A rhythmic thumping like heartbeats. No, that's impossible. It must be water dripping somewhere in the distance. But as I listen, it grows louder, more insistent. It's coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. I pick up my pace, trying to outrun the sound and my own growing panic. The beam of my flashlight dances wildly across the tunnel walls, creating grotesque shadows that seem to reach out for me. In the chaotic light, I swear I see faces in the rock, twisted in silent screams. The physical toll of navigating these tunnels is nothing compared to the psychological strain. Every creak and groan of settling rock sounds like footsteps. Every shadow seems to move when I'm not looking directly at it. I'm starting to understand why the miners who worked here lived in a constant state of unease. As I round another corner, my light catches something moving ahead. It's quick, just a flicker of motion at the edge of the beam. I freeze, my breath caught in my throat. "Hello," I call out, my voice weak and trembling. No response, just the endless echo of my own fear bouncing off the walls. I take a step forward, then another. The tunnel opens up into a larger cavern, and that's when I see it, a massive piece of machinery, half buried in rubble. It must be part of the old ore processing system, but there's something off about it. As my light plays across its rusted surface, I could swear the gears are turning ever so slightly. A faint whisper echoes through the tunnel, sending chills down my spine. "Get out," it says, barely audible but unmistakable. I spin around, my heart threatening to burst from my chest. But there's no one there. Just the endless dark of the mine, and the growing certainty that I'm not alone down here. The whisper still echoes in my mind, but something else catches my attention. A glint of white among the rubble. I edge closer, my breath catching in my throat. It's an old newspaper, its edges crumbling with age. The headline makes my blood run cold. 300 miners vanish overnight in Kennecott. What happened here? My hands shake as I pick up the fragile paper. The date on the top is smudged, but I can make out enough to know it's from the early 1950s. That's when Kennecott was supposed to have shut down, right? But this is something else entirely. I scan the article, my flashlight beam trembling across the faded text. It talks about a normal day at the mine, workers going about their business as usual. Then, in the middle of the night, something went wrong. The whole town woke up to find the miners gone. No trace, no explanation, just vanished. My mind races, trying to connect the dots. The whispers in the tunnel, the moving shadows, that feeling of being watched, it all starts to make a terrifying kind of sense. What if those miners never left? What if they're still here, trapped somehow? I keep reading, my heart pounding so hard I can barely focus. There's a quote from the mine manager, "It's like the mountains swallowed them whole." I look up at the tunnel walls, suddenly feeling like they're closing in on me. Is that what happened? Did the mountain really take them? The article mentions Kennecott's incredible wealth, over $200 million in copper, pulled from these very tunnels. But there's something else, a hint of something darker. It talks about unexplained phenomena in the weeks leading up to the disappearance. Machines operating on their own, strange noises deep in the mine shafts, workers reporting feelings of being watched. I think about the old piece of equipment I saw earlier, its gears seeming to turn by themselves. A chill runs down my spine. This isn't just some abandoned town. It's a tomb. As I read on, I find a small paragraph that makes my blood freeze. It mentions an old Alaskan legend about the mountain, something the native people warned the miners about when they first arrived. The copper wasn't just ore, they said. It was alive somehow, part of something ancient and hungry. The miners laughed it off, of course. But now, standing in these dark tunnels with whispers echoing around me, I'm not laughing. What if the legend was true? What if the mountain really did take those 300 souls? I fold the newspaper carefully and tuck it into my pocket. Whatever happened here, I need to get out. Now. But as I turn to retrace my steps, a new sound reaches my ears. A low rumble, growing louder by the second. The tunnel walls start to shake, dust raining down from above. My heart leaps into my throat. Is it an earthquake, or something worse? The rumble grows to a roar, and I can feel the ground shifting beneath my feet. Whatever secret Kennecott's been hiding all these years, I have a terrible feeling it's about to reveal itself. The roar intensifies and I stumble out of the tunnel just as the ground gives way. But what I see next makes me wish I'd stayed in the collapsing mine. There, sprawling before me in the moonlight, is the massive Kennecott Glacier. And it's moving. Not the slow crawl of ice, but writhing like something alive. What terrible secret could this frozen giant be hiding? I take a shaky step onto the ice, my heart pounding so hard I can barely breathe. The glacier groans beneath my feet, a deep, resonant sound that seems to come from everywhere at once. I remember reading that the Kennecott Glacier flows southeast towards McCarthy, combining with the Root Glacier north of town. But this isn't natural movement. It's as if the ice itself is breathing. My flashlight beam dances across the surface, revealing a network of cracks and crevasses. Each one seems to pulse with an eerie blue light. I edge closer to one of the fissures, drawn by a morbid curiosity I can't explain. As I peer into the depths, my blood runs cold. There, trapped in the ice, are faces. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, their expressions frozen in terror. I stumble back, my mind reeling. Are these the missing miners? How is this possible? The glacier shifts again, and I hear what sounds like whispers carried on the wind. Help us, they seem to say. Set us free. I try to run, but the ice is slick and treacherous. Every few steps, I slip and fall, the cold seeping into my bones. The whispers grow louder, more insistent. I can't tell if they're coming from the ice or inside my own head. As I struggle to my feet again, I notice something strange about the rocks scattered across the glacier's surface. They're not just ordinary stones, they're a mix of rock and ice, remnants of the glacier's slow journey down from Mount Blackburn. The mountain rises nearly 16,000 feet high, feeding this monstrous river of ice. But now I wonder, what else has it been feeding? A memory surfaces, something from the old newspaper I found in the mine. The Athabaskan legend about the mountain, about the copper being alive. What if it wasn't just the copper? What if the whole mountain, the glacier, all of it, is part of something ancient and hungry? The realization hits me like a physical blow. The mine, the town, the glacier, they're all connected. Kennecott wasn't abandoned. It was consumed. The mountain lured people here with promises of wealth, then slowly devoured them, preserving their souls in its icy embrace. I hear a massive crack, like thunder, right beneath my feet. The ground begins to shift, and I realize with horror that the ice is opening up. I try to run, but it's too late. The last thing I see before I fall is the starry Alaskan sky, indifferent to the terror below. As I plummet into the icy depths, a final, chilling thought crosses my mind. How many others have discovered this terrible secret? And how long before Kennecott claims its next victim? As I lay here, entombed in the icy depths of the Kennecott Glacier, I realize the true horror of Kennecott. This place isn't just an abandoned town. It's a living, breathing entity. The copper, the ice, the very mountain itself, they're all part of something ancient and hungry. And now I'm part of it too. I can feel the ice slowly creeping into my bones, preserving me just like those poor miners. Their whispers surround me, a chorus of lost souls trapped in this frozen hell. I wonder how long it'll be before my voice joins theirs, calling out to the next unsuspecting visitor. As my consciousness fades, I have one last chilling thought. What other forgotten places hide secrets like this? What terrors lie waiting in the abandoned corners of our world, hungry for new victims? And who will be next to uncover them? If you're reading this, consider it a warning. Some mysteries are better left unsolved. Some places are meant to stay forgotten. But Kennecott never forgets. And it's always hungry for more.
Thank you for joining me on this chilling journey through Kennecott's dark secrets. If this story sent shivers down your spine, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss another spine-tingling tale. Do you have a favorite horror story or a mysterious place you'd like us to explore? Share your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. We love hearing from our brave viewers. Remember, some mysteries are better left unsolved, but together we can uncover the unknown. Stay curious, stay safe, and beware. Some shadows are meant to remain in the dark.